नाज़रीन, हम मौजूद हैं बेंगलुरु के कैपिटल होटल में, जहां पर आज मुख्तलिफ समाजी कारकुनान का एक अहम इजलास मुनाकिद होने वाला है, जिसमें मुख्तलिफ समाजी कारकुनान, माहिर तालीम और इकोनॉमिस्ट यहां पर हिस्सा लेंगे और आने वाले लोकसभा इलेक्शन 2024 पर उनकी क्या राय है उस ताल्लुक से वो बात करने वाले हैं। हम उनसे जानेंगे कि आने वाला इंतखाब जिसको लेकर के मुल्क भर में काफ़ी दिलचस्पी लोगों में बढ़ी हुई है और लोगों के ताल्लुक से काफी धुंधलाहट आंखों के सामने है कि मुस्तकबिल मुल्क का क्या होगा। तो उनसे जानेंगे कि आने वाला लोकसभा इलेक्शन किस तरीके से अहम हो सकता है और लोगों का वोट देने को लेकर के क्या स्टैंड होना चाहिए। चलिए जानते हैं। सो हाउ यू सी द अपकमिंग इलेक्शन, लोकसभा इलेक्शन 2024?
This is a very crucial election, and in this election, if the present government somehow comes back to power, we probably will not have another free and fair election in this country. There will be complete destruction of the country's economy, the social fabric, religious unity, and even there'll be a lot of strain in the federal structure, that is the relation between center and state. So this is a very crucial election. If things are not taken care, if this government is not thrown out of office, India will go into a deeper crisis.
And the Modi interview in ANI, he talked about several issues, electoral bonds. How you see the electoral bonds working in India?
You see, electoral bonds, as I said before, is not only the biggest scam in India, but it is the biggest scam in the world. The reason why I say this is not only based on the amount of money that has changed hands in the form of electoral bonds, but the quid pro quo, the amount of money that was involved in awarding of contracts, and the amount of money that was involved in protecting people who are money laundering, who are under the ED scanner, etc., etc. And government has used all these agencies to extort money. There is no transparency. The government forced its highest law officer to tell the Supreme Court that the people of India have no right to know who is funding the political parties. So there is no transparency. The Prime Minister says it was brought in because of transparency. But if that is the case, why is it that the Prime Minister and his government moved earth and heaven to stop the Supreme Court from divulging the details, revealing the details of who bought and who got the electoral bonds? One. The second thing is that even after the Supreme Court had said that electoral bond details will have to be published, to the Supreme Court, the SBI went and said, they can't do it until June 30th, which means that they want to after elections. The other thing is, even then, when the Supreme Court said nothing do you have to reveal, then the government made CII, FICCI, ASSOCHAM, such business organizations to go and represent to the Supreme Court that the name should not be revealed. Why, if the Prime Minister, as he claims, if he is interested in transparency, why is he trying to hide these details? Simple question. And he also said that those people who are opposing to electoral bonds will come to regret it. Now, my question to the Prime Minister is, who are these people who are going to regret? Supreme Court objected to it and said it is unconstitutional. Does the Prime Minister mean that the Supreme Court will come to regret it? There were judges who were sitting on the bench which pronounced that electoral bonds were unconstitutional. Will they come to regret it? Did the Prime Minister mean that? The Chief Justice of Supreme Court presided over this entire bench, and That bench declared electoral bonds as unconstitutional. Does the Prime Minister mean that the Chief Justice of India will come to regret it? Is it some kind of a threat that the Prime Minister is issuing to the Supreme Court and Chief Justice and all the justices? Forget about people like me. We are small people. But how about the Supreme Court? How about the highest judicial body in the country?
And he said in the last 10 years is just a trailer. We are planning to 2047. How you see the upcoming election? The decide.
See, if 24% of youth unemployment is trailer, if highest household debt is a trailer, if lowest household saving is a trailer, if 4,000 square kilometers of occupation by the Chinese of India's land is a trailer, if highest malnutrition is trailer, if national debt at the highest point about 170 lakh crores is a trailer, you can imagine what the actual cinema is going to be. That actual cinema will be nothing but the wholesale destruction of India as we know it.
Also, he talked about Modi 3.0. How see?
See, nobody can stop him claiming anything, but ultimately you have to wait for the people's verdict. Now, if you do not want to wait for people's verdict and go on saying that I will be the Prime Minister, are you considering that you are higher than the people of India? You should have that much of a minimum humility to say that, look, I've done this kind of work so far and I'm submitting myself to the people's court and I appeal to them to give me another chance. That is fine. But even before the election, if you go on saying that I will be the Prime Minister, it is Modi 3.0, I think this is something which is very distasteful.
Okay. One last question, sir. He talked about the Rahul Gandhi's statement. We will finish the poverty in a jhatke mein. How you see the Modi is criticized the Rahul Gandhi's statement?
Point is this: we have to see whether somebody wants to try and eliminate poverty or somebody whose policies are increasing the poverty. The debate should be that. Can you do it? Can he do it? Can they do it? We'll have to try. But ridiculing somebody who wants to try to eliminate poverty is not good.
Think ab ki baar 400 par is possible from BJP? Like as they are claiming, this time they'll win 400 plus seats. Is it possible?
See, if they have not said that, ab ki baar 400 par, ab ki baar 370 for BJP, NDA 400 par, if they have not said that, you will be debating whether BJP will win at all. So I think it is a very clever ploy to divert people's mind onto whether they will get 400 or not. Actually, the question should be whether they will win or not, whether they should win or not. Instead, people are concentrating on whether they'll get that much number or this much number. The point is this: if in order to win 370, how many do they have to contest? And what should be the success rate in their contesting? Is it possible to succeed in every seat that you contest? Is it possible to win 90% of the seats that you contest? It's not possible. So, even 370 is not possible. Forget 400. My calculation, because I've been going around a lot of places in the country, north, south, east, west, everywhere. My estimate is it will be very difficult for BJP to cross 220 or 230. This is my estimate. Because there is a lot of rethinking going on in the minds of the people. People have understood that massive corruption has happened in electoral bonds. And it is still going very rapidly into the people. People are discussing about this corruption. Another thing is that, people are also very tired of Narendra Modi. There is a Modi fatigue. Wherever you see petrol station, you see him. On your telephones, you see him. On television, you see him. On papers, you see him. On hoardings, you see him. On radio, you see him. You hear Man Ki Baat. All these things. So, but you see that overexposure does good if you are doing good work. But if your delivery is not good and you're overexposed, it will actually be negative. It will go against you. That is what is happening today in the country.
Upcoming election, Lok Sabha election 2024.
It's very decisive. Elections are very decisive. That's what I just mentioned. Why it is decisive? Because, unless you keep the constitution in this country, you can't really make anything big. Because we are very clearly defined how India should be in the constitution. In the preamble itself we said India should be a secular, socialist, democratic, sovereign republic. So how can you really build India unless you have a constitution? And also we have assured justice, both social, political and economic justice, dignity of the individual as one of the key issues, and also the unity of the nation. So all these constitutional values defines how India should be and how in which direction that we have to move forward. So in my opinion, if you look at the last 10 years, whatever the regime that what we have now, more or less all these constitution values have been completely destroyed. In relation to education, more or less the public education system is fully destroyed. Look at even yesterday, they have almost handed over 40 Sainik schools to their own organizations. One can imagine what will happen there. What will happen to the content that they are going to teach, and what will happen to the kind of minds of children, where we need to inculcate scientific attitude, scientific temper, reasoning, critical thinking. All this becomes so therefore in my opinion, in these elections it is very decisive. The people of India who adopted the constitutions on their own should decide. We have to vote for those who can really promise us, guarantee us to safeguard the Constitution and implement the Constitution in letter and spirit. I think that should be the message that we want to give it to the people of Karnataka, people of the country, so that we can save this country and we can at least save the Constitution, which was the product of the freedom struggle.
In frame of state, Karnataka state, 28 seats are there, 25 seats for BJP. How you see the upcoming election?
There are a lot of hopes. I personally feel at least we will get between 16 to 17, because I also I have also gone to many constituencies. The people are really fed up with the last 10 years on all front. So people have more or less decided to change this time, that they need some fresh air. I think certainly we will get some new good results, not only in Karnataka, even in South India, whether it is Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, Tamil Nadu. I hope that we will do better as compared to
Bangalore frame, sir, how you see the Bangalore Central, South and North?
So Bangalore, particularly when it comes to North and South people have seen the kind of arrogance of the person who is contesting the elections. And in the South, certainly we have a very eminent candidate who is also a woman. And she has really done, when she was representing the constituency for the assembly, she has done very good work. So lot of credibility. And in the north, of course, we have one of the best candidates, Mr. Rajiv Gowda. I think given his, kind of understanding, understanding of the constitution, I personally feel they have a better, because at least in Bangalore, people are well educated. They know what is good and what is bad. They can decide things, I think all these things will really help us to, kind of get them into parliament.
And Bangalore Central, the only one Muslim candidate
Yeah,
contest.
of course, certainly. I think given the kind of country's situation now, where hardly we have representatives for, they have almost 13 to 14% of the total population, and we are struggling to get their representation. I think my sincere request to the people of Central Constituency, please, from the point of keeping this country united, from the point of keeping this country as a nation. So I think it's very important to, to see that he will be elected and he will be in the parliament.
ಜಗತ್ತಿನಲ್ಲಿಯೇ ಭಾರತ
पूरी दुनिया में मुल्क हिंदुस्तान मुख्तलिफ ज़बानों, मुख्तलिफ मज़ाहिब, अलग अलग तहज़ीब और सक़ाफ़त का मुल्क है। तहज़ीब और सक़ाफ़त वाले इस मुल्क में पिछले 10 सालों से इसकी सक़ाफ़त को मिटाने की सियासी हुक्मरानों की कोशिशों के दौर में लोगों की आवाज़ बनकर, मुल्क के आम शहरी की आवाज़ बनकर बात करना हर मुतवस्सित तबक़े और तालीम याफ्ता तबक़े की ज़िम्मेदारी है, ये मुझे कहना है। इस इज्तिमाइयत को मिटाने की कोशिश करने वाली ये ताकतें एक एक तबक़े को निशाना बनाकर आइंदा दिनों में पूरे मुल्क को एक मुल्क एक तहज़ीब का जो नारा लेकर निकले हैं, ये हमारे मुल्क की मुख्तलिफ सक़ाफ़तों को ख़त्म करने की पूरी निशानियाँ नज़र आ रही हैं। इतना ही नहीं बल्कि कर्नाटक और अलग अलग रियासतों की बीजेपी के लीडरान संविधान को बदलने के लिए कितनी तादाद में मेंबरान की ज़रूरत होनी चाहिए, खुलेआम ऐसी बातें करने के वक्त में इस मुल्क में मेजॉरिटी में रहने वाले मेहनती तबके, दलित, पिछड़े तबके के लोग, औरतें, आदिवासी, नौजवान अब बेदार नहीं हुए तो आने वाले दिनों में मुल्क इख्तिदार में रहने वालों के मातहत हो जाएगा, हमें नज़र आ रहा है। मैं हुकूमत से कहना चाहती हूँ कि आपने हुकूमत में आने के लिए आवाम और नौजवानों को ख्वाब दिखाए थे, उन वादों को आपने कहाँ तक पूरा किया? हर साल नौजवानों को 2 करोड़ नौकरियां देने का वादा करके हुकूमत में आई बीजेपी हुकूमत पिछले 10 सालों में कितनी नौकरियां दी, इस मामूली सवाल का जवाब देना उनके लिए मुमकिन नहीं हो पा रहा है। इतना ही नहीं, किसानों की आय दुगनी करने की बात कहकर इख्तिदार में आने वाली ये जमात ने किसानों की रीढ़ की हड्डी तोड़ने का काम किया है। किसान आंदोलन 1 साल के अरसे से ज़्यादा दिल्ली में चलने के दौरान किस लेवल पर चला और उस दौरान जान गंवाने वाले किसानों के ताल्लुक से हमारे हुक्मरान ने एक बात तक ना की, जो कि काफ़ी तकलीफ देने वाली बात है।
तो जैसे कि आपने सुना कि आने वाले लोकसभा इलेक्शन किस कदर मुल्क के लिए अहम हो सकते हैं, यहाँ पर हम लोगों ने मुल्क के मुख्तलिफ समाजी कारकुनान को सुना और उनकी जो भी माहिर तालीम यहाँ पर मौजूद थे और माहिर इकोनॉमिस्ट भी जिनसे हमने बात की, उनका यही मानना है कि आने वाले लोकसभा इलेक्शन में बहुत संजीदगी से लोगों को वोट देना चाहिए ताकि मुल्क का मुस्तकबिल इसी पर टिका हुआ है कि किस तरफ मुल्क जाएगा, यही 2024 का लोकसभा इलेक्शन तय करने वाला है। तो यही मामलात हैं जो मुल्क में चल रहे हैं। इसी को लेकर के हम समाजी कारकुनान को सुन रहे थे, इकोनॉमिस्ट और माहिर तालीम को सुन रहे थे। यही बात पर उनका ज़ोर था कि लोग बहुत ध्यान से अपने वोट को इस्तेमाल करें और आने वाले दिनों में हम मुल्क को किस तरफ ले जाना चाहते हैं, ये हमारी उंगली पर टिका हुआ है।